Hey guys, this is Sakori, or Alex, or as my character is now known, Mosswitch. Um, I'm going to be making a intro level WeakAuras tutorial video today. But for those that don't know me and aren't in our guild, I'm main tank for the guild Burlesque on the server Hyjal, on Horde obviously. But let's get into this. I'm making this mostly for my guildies that have some questions about WeakAuras, are curious but don't really know how to get started. It is a bit overwhelming, but really it's for anyone who wants that. Alright, here we are. Alright, so first off, welcome to my interface. I try and keep it fairly minimal in terms of what's up on screen at any given time. You're not going to see my chat log, by the way. That's where we've got our stream logo. And for anyone in our guild watching, we do ask that if you do stream or record that you don't display guild chat. Anyways, onwards and upwards. So I put us right here just because it's kind of out of the way. It's low traffic. There's not a lot of excess stuff going on. There's not going to be people like walking up and blocking our screen with ginormous mounts. But let's hop into WeakAuras. So /WA on the side will get you into the WeakAuras screen. And it's going to pop up this big menu here, and there's a whole bunch of stuff. Starting out, all this stuff here on the left, that's going to be empty. That's where you make your WeakAuras, but you should have all this on the right. I'm going to pull this to the side for a moment so you can see. When this menu is open, it will open up all of your WeakAuras. Well, actually, there's this little like eyeball. If you click it once, it'll toggle all on for sure. Otherwise, it'll just show what's loaded. Anyways, this is what my interface looks like. So just to go over it really quick, so you have a clue what you're looking at and what I'm going for here. This top bar here, this is for the new class buffs. Basically, these are going to show up if I'm in a group and if I've got one of those classes in the group and that buff is not applied. So for an example, as a warrior, I've got Battle Shout. If I turn it off, it'll pop up, hey, we've got a warrior, Battle Shout's not up. And this number here is going to show how many people are in the group, 1 right now, and how many people it has applied to, 0. So if I use my button, put Battle Shout, it goes away. That was OP for the add-on OP for the radial menu, in case anyone was curious. Anyways, back here, let's pop them all up again. Okay, so that's what those are. I've got Bloodlust here. This is going to show up while Bloodlust is active in a group. Other than that, let's see here. Loaded. Yep. So I've got major cooldowns here, major defensive cooldowns. I've got Shield Wall, Last Stand, Avatar. They're my big cooldowns. I've got smaller cooldowns here, or maybe not cooldowns, but abilities that I want to know when they're active and when they're going to fall off. So that's Berserker Rage for breaking fears and stuff. We got Demo Shout for reducing attack of enemies. Spell Reflection, so I know when my window for spell reflection and magic damage reduction's up. And Ignore Pain will let me know when I have actual Ignore Pain absorbs. This is Shield Block here. That's the bread and butter for the warrior. Shield block some stuff. And then this is for a talent here, Punish, which basically I want it to show me one, basically that it's up when I'm attacking things, because it's less damage reduction against or less damage enemies are going to put out on me. That's why I have this number here, because it's got stacks. And then we've got Intimidating Roar, or Intimidating Shout, yeah, and Rallying Cry for raid cooldown here. So that's the basic idea. Plus I've got a health bar and a rage bar. Anyways, into making something, right? You can see I've got all these other things for other classes I play to. So First off, something to note, there are 2 categories here. Well, 3 technically. Having this new highlighted will open up all this menu on the right here for making new ones. The loaded one is a menu that's opened up. This shows all the ones that are actively loaded, which is everything you're seeing on my screen. Not loaded are ones you've made that you've set up not to be active, whether it's stuck to a class or it's only active when you're in a raid group or any other settings you will get to. But let's start off with we will let's choose an ability really quick. We're going to make Victory Rush here. So Victory Rush for a warrior, as you can see here, it's basically only usable within 20 seconds after you kill an enemy that yields experience or honor. So not low level stuff I'm going to find in Mulgore. So that would be useful, you know, if you're leveling or whatever. I personally don't use it a lot because I'm mostly focused on raid tanking and I don't get that a lot, but maybe in Mythic Plus that's going to be valuable for you and you'd want it. So let's make that. So /WA again to open WeakAuras, and then as this is essentially an intro video, we're going to go with making from templates. I don't claim to be a master of WeakAuras, but I've delved into it enough to get myself in trouble. So we're going to go from template, and what I do here is I generally go to the icon because I like the icon things, but there are these other options you can check out. Text could be useful for some things, progress bars if you prefer that style. I think model is going to be a little bit higher intensity on your graphics if you start using a bunch of those. Or you can have these pop-up textures. It's your call, but I go for icons. So we get into here and it's going to pop up this thing. You're going to have a drop down of all the different classes and the specs so you can do anything. Like for example, even on my warrior here, when I'm going to be raid leading or shot calling or whatever, there's now class-based debuffs like the monk. If we go into monk here and go into debuffs, they've got Mystic Touch here, and this is the one that as long as they've attacked the target, everyone's damage weakens the target, increasing physical damage taken by 5%, which is a valuable raid asset. So I care if I know about that, even though it's not my class's thing. As a leader, it's important for us to know if that's up or not. It's just not loaded on my thing right now because I would set it to only load in raids. But anyways, let's go back to warrior here. I just want to show that's one of the reasons you have access to all the classes and all their abilities. So we're going to go into buffs here. We'll have to find it. Might not be in buffs. We're going to look through here. So buffs are ones that are literally buffs. They're going to show up here on your buff bar. They can be procs. They can be a number of things. But it doesn't seem to be in buffs. So maybe it's in debuffs. I don't see it. So maybe it's in cooldowns. And there's a whole bunch of things that are available. And, you know, it's possible that I picked one that I'm just not finding for whatever reason. So let's make, we'll just make the Ravager one. That's one that I might want sometime. I might pick that talent. Plus this will allow us to show off, you know, having things set to show up only when you have the talent pick. So we're going to click Ravager. And you'll see that by default, it's going to be in the not loaded category. And there's a reason for that, which we will get to. But anyways, I'm going to go a bit tab by tab here so you can see what you can do. So if I move this thing, your button's going to show up in the middle of the screen. And you can drag it around to place it however you want. It shows a lock icon, and basically as soon as you close this window here, this is going to lock in place. So again, this is a point where it's useful to be able to, you know, click the eyeball and see everything else you have on your screen so you can place it and place things nicely. But if you want to be a little more specific about how you control your placement, if you scroll down here, you'll see X offset and Y offset. And if I drag that, that's going to control one direction, and you can type in here. So if I want to edit it just slightly, I'll go -600 from 610. Oh, I need numlock on. That would help. And it's going to move it over 10 pixels. So these numbers here are based on pixels. You can also change the size of the button. You'll notice I have smaller buttons here. That is right here in the width and height in position settings. So if you put 4.8, enter is important. It won't do it if you don't. And then 4.8 here, you got smaller. You can make it, 512, and it's gonna look fucking ridiculous. It's gonna be distorted as all hell, but you can do that if you want. But I'm gonna put it back to 48. Oops, almost. 48, there we go. So I like that size because it's not one of my major cooldowns. I just want to be able to glance at it every once in a while if I'm going to be using it. Something else we can do. This is something I would do for Ravager is I'm going to click cooldown, and you'll notice that that starts having this the basic cooldown that abilities show on the classic Blizzard button bar. That would be useful for this insofar as like you chuck out Ravager, you leave it somewhere, and it's like helping you pick up mobs or gather threat. But you can see basically when it ends, and that way you don't have to be looking at it and guessing when the animation gets lost in a pile of other animations and mobs that okay, it's only got 2 seconds left, or it just fell off, and now I know I'm not getting that threat there, or it's not going to be generating threat on things coming in from that side while I'm on the other. Something like that. You can also desaturate it, make it all black, white, and grays if you want. I find this useful for not really my prot warrior, but say for my rogue. I play assassination when I play my rogue, and I've got my poisons basically where on either side of my resource bars. And I have it set so I've got one that when I don't have poisons on because they'll fall off and I'll not notice because I don't see them up here in the middle of everything, that it'll just show as gray. And when I do have poisons on, it'll show up colorized. And that lets me know that. So that's a usefulness I see for desaturation. But it's whatever you want to do. You can also have things glow. But I like keeping things simple and not too crazy. There is text on here. If you hover over here, it's going to give you little numbers. These are dynamic things here, so it's going to tell you stacks or progress, timer, all those sorts of things. Useful for different things. I have that on here because this talent stacks up. And so I want to know how many stacks I have. I don't have it on a lot of other things because I don't care to. I don't see a point to having that. So you can check mark or uncheck mark, and you'll see this number here moves away. You can change the position here with these drop down menus. I move it to the middle. It's kind of hidden behind that lock, but and you can edit the size of it. Freaks out a little bit if you try and make it too big, but if I move this back to bottom left, you can see the number again. And scaling the size again, you can type in what font size you want, but I don't want a font on this. You can also set your anchor point so that where the position you're typing here, basically, like it's at center right now. So the center here is at -600x by 26y. But if you set, top right, it's gonna move. Your coordinates don't change. That's because you see this. The lock is where your anchor point is. That's where it's telling it to be on screen, and it's going to base the position of your image here and your button on that anchor point. So we're going to move that back to center. So that's pretty much it for display. Trigger, this is useful. You can get into more advanced stuff here for sure. Something that I think is useful for people just starting out is like for the Mystic Touch debuff for monks that I was talking about. If I have it own only checked, it's only gonna show up if it's my thing that I applied. If I uncheck that, then it's gonna show it up if anyone's is up. But most things you're gonna want own only, because if you're playing an affliction lock and there's like 3 other affliction locks, your screen is going to fill up with all the debuffs and buffs and dots and whatever symbols you have, and you're not gonna be able to tell what's yours. You can also do for missing. This is what I did for when I was talking about the poisons on my rogue. You can set it up for missing. So I would basically have 2 of them for the poisons. One would be set to missing, so it would show up when I did not have a poison buff applied. And that's the one I had desaturated, so it was grays. And then I had another one that was the same thing, except it did not have desaturated on check, so it was colored, and it was set to buff debuffed, which basically checks to make sure it is up. You know, Battle Shout right now is buffed on me, or my target is debuffed with like this, that I forget the name of momentarily, but it's going to check for that. Conditions, this is also for more advanced things. Basically, triggers and conditions are going to interact. This is trigger 1 here by default. That's pretty basic stuff. And basically it's going to go in, you're going to add a condition and ask for more things. But I don't want to get into that to start with. The load tab is important for us. So it'll choose a class drop down, but more than that, you can have it unchecked. If you check it, you can do a drop down, so it'll be a singular class. If you check it again, it's going to give you this checkmark box. So you can check as many classes as you want to show up. So for example, my Bloodlust ability here, I have it checked for all classes because I want that to show up on every class I play, because every class gets affected by Bloodlust. You can also have it set to specific, only show up for prot or whatever talent specialization. And again, you can do that and have it set to just 2 or all 3. And then importantly, for something like Ravager, which is a talent, you can have it set up to only show up when that talent or whatever talent you set it to is picked. So basically, I can set this up and set it all up, but it's not going to show up if I don't have Ravager selected, which I don't right now. You can do multiple talents, PvP talents. You can set it up by player race, faction. You can do specific. You can get really specific with it, like by player name or by realm, whatever. Something that will be valuable to people starting out is this in combat checkmark. You can do it to in combat or when you're not in combat, so it won't show up when you're in combat, or just kind of unchecked and let other things here determine whether it shows up. So most things, like most my debuffs here, I have it set to in combat because I don't care to see that stuff out of combat. The only thing I'm willing to see out of combat is health bar and rage bar. Let's see here. 2 actions. Honestly, you shouldn't need I don't mess around with this much myself, but you can do things like, when it shows up, play a chat message, play a sound, button glow, whatever, and you can get into advanced things with animations. So that's all you should really need to get started and kind of start digging into this stuff. The last thing I want to kind of show here is groups. You'll notice here that I've got a number of things that are set up, and they've just got this little plus sign, and you open them up and they have multiple things in there. The big one is probably my warrior cooldowns, which is all my buttons here, and it's grouped up. So basically, you just click new group, name it what you want. So in this case, we're gonna go rogue CDs, And then it doesn't have any options here at first. But if you go, take this rogue talent, drop it in, and you'll see it's got this blue line here with this little book. You want it to be the blue line under the group you want it to go in, and it's going to add it there. So we drop it there, let go of the mouse button, and we open it up, and it's now in there. And you'll notice now this group suddenly has, it's going to show up as this little box, and it's going to now have settings like anything else. But it has an additional tab called group, and this is the one you want to use if you want to move the whole group or scale it. So we've got the scale here. You can drag it, you can type it, whatever. For example, I imported this whole rage bar setup group right here, and I already had this health bar, and so it didn't match size. So I used this scale slider here and then did a little fine tuning with the actual typing to match it as close as possible down here how I wanted it. You can set borders, whatever, and then you can move the whole group as a unit without distorting everything with these. Generally, I like to set everything up before I put it all in a group, and you can add a bunch of things to a group. One thing to note is I believe if you take things out of a group, it's going to reset their position to the 0, 0, which is the center of the screen. But anyways, that should be everything that you need to get your hands dirty with WeakAuras and get started. The one last thing I do want to mention is that there's a WeakAura website essentially that people post their WeakAuras up, and you'll be able to go and search it. You just go to, it's wago.io, and it'll bring it up. Just click the WeakAuras at the top, and it's going to bring up a bunch, like you can search by class or by arena, battleground, PvP, by raids, dungeons, class roles, all the normal sort of things you can probably think of. Just type it in, like warrior or whatever, and it's going to bring up a whole bunch of ones people have put up there. So I'm just going to click warrior really quick. I'll just click this one. And you'll see they'll be rated. They'll have a note of when they were uploaded, and generally people put what class or spec they're for and what patch that they were uploaded for. Advanced ones will have whole groups of them that you can just import, and whole I'm forgetting the word, like change logs, like, hey, we edited this date, blah blah blah. Anyways, on there off to the right there's a big button that's going to say copy WeakAuras import string. Just click it, and then back on our screen over here, I should show. No, that didn't work. I just have it set to record the WoW window. Alright, well, you'll figure it out. Anyways, back here on the new tab in the WeakAuras, if you click import, it's going to bring up this thing, and just click paste what it was. It's going to gibberish code whatever scripting language. You're just going to come in here and you're going to click import. Done, goes away, and it's going to drag in this group, and it's going to have all these other little WeakAuras in here, and then you'll be able to place it on screen. It's got this whole mess. Obviously I don't really want this for mine, so I'm going to come here and delete children and group. If you just click delete, it's going to delete the group, and all the things in the subgroup are just going to be on their own, still there. So click delete children and group, and you'll get rid of all of it. Anyways, that's all you should know to really get into WeakAuras, and I hope that helps you all. With that, I think I'm going to leave you there and let you all play. Have a good one. Come check us out at Burlesque. Bye.